Good afternoon, everybody. On a grey day, never mind. It's better than it being 35 degrees with no AC. So, six of one, half a dozen the other. Right. So, what's my starting story today? I think it's about being too nice to staff who are not performing. Okay. So this morning I did a without prejudice conversation with an employee who basically they've been performance managing for 18 months, not because she doesn't want to do the job. She is really trying to do the job, but she just can't do it. She can't do it. She shouldn't have been promoted. They didn't promote her. They inherited her, and they've tried everything, but they've tried for 18 months. And while that's really nice and generous of them, there is no requirement for you to try for 18 months to get somebody to work. 6 months is more than adequate. They have been doing review meetings, they've been doing changes, they've been doing reasonable adjustments, they're doing all of that. It's absolutely fine to say after 6 months, or depending on how bad it is, after 3 months of really trying to say, actually, this isn't going to work out and part company. But the fact that she made it past the 2 years, she was in a more junior position beforehand, and they didn't part company because they were trying to make it work, means that now we're coming, and she has had these review meetings to say, look, this isn't great, shall we do it? But today, it's always a shock when people have without prejudice conversations, unless we've sent them the letter actually inviting them, which we didn't in this case. But it was just really clear that she didn't understand it. She didn't understand what's going on. And we've rephrased it, and we're going to obviously send an explanatory email to her. But it's just, this could have been a much easier conversation, a year, 18 months ago, while she was in her trial period, while she was under 2 years. And now, because she was also she was so sweet. She's like, would it be easier for the club if I resigned? I'm like, no, don't resign. This is the best way for you to take this offer. Okay, but I could resign if I wanted to. No, please don't. Please don't resign. Please. So sweet. It's like, but either way, we would make sure she had the finances fine. But it's obviously better for the employer if it's with or without prejudice and in a settlement agreement. But it's like absolutely be on top of people who aren't performing, but you don't need to be doing this forever. You just a few months of where you're actually giving them that feedback, doing the retraining, making reasonable adjustments, that's absolutely fine. You're not expected to do it for 18 months. That is a drain on resources. And, there's nice, and then there's possibly going a teeny bit too far. So, Nadia, what have you been up to?
I actually wanted to take a minute to talk to you guys about sickness today. Now, we have done this to death before, but I feel like we still constantly get questions, and it feels like it's maybe that time of the year. It's summer, kids are on summer holidays, there's all sorts of things and reasons. Parents are tired, or they have childcare issues, or whatever. But I wanted to talk you through this, okay? If you have employees it's just about how to manage short-term absence, right? The things that you can do to make it harder for someone to pull a sickie, okay? To make it a little more uncomfortable for them to do that. So there are a few important things that you really should have in place in your business if you are wanting to manage short-term absence. So you need to be really strict with employees regarding following the correct absence reporting procedure. As it is stated in your handbook, don't make deviations to this. Don't allow them to sometimes text you, and then one day you've had enough of this person being off sick, and then you go, oh, well, they never call, they text. But you've allowed them to text. So be strict. If someone texts you and your handbook says they should be calling you, and the first time they do that, say, you texted me, I want you to understand that as per the staff handbook, in future, I expect you to call me, not text me. And next time when they text you, That's a meeting. That's a formal meeting to say, spoke to you about this last time, explained it. Why did you call? Why did you text again instead of calling? And I'll tell you why. Because it's a lot easier to text your boss and be like, oh, I'm off sick, than it is to talk to your boss and to explain what's wrong and why you're not at work. So if you're going to pull a sickie, I'm guessing texting is going to be easier than making a phone call. Okay. Now, some clubs I do know have an alternative arrangement in place for their greens teams because the head greenkeeper doesn't want to be called at 4 o'clock in the morning, 10 minutes before he's supposed to get up, for an employee to tell him that they're not going to be in. So I know that we do have some clubs that have an alternative agreement for the greens team, but then employees again should be managed against that agreement. So it's really important for that procedure to be clear and to be enforced. And every employee should be doing a self-certification when they're absent for up to 7 days, and then for more than 7 days, they should be giving you a GP note. So, and that is 7 days, including their days off. So basically it's a week, right? So don't let that slide and then just try and enforce it when you are getting annoyed with someone's regular short-term absence, because it has to be enforced all of the time with all the employees that are absent. And again, this just makes it harder. If you know that you're going to pull a sickie and you have to call your boss and then you have to fill in a form when you come back, it's all a bit much. It's a bit much effort. Someone might be like, oh, I'd rather just go to work. And then the other thing, the really important thing.
In a second, Dawn. Yeah.
Sorry. So the really important thing that I see people miss all of the time is the return to work meeting, right? People are not doing return to work meetings for every employee absence. People are doing return to work meetings for employees that irritate them only.
Yes.
If they even bother.
Yeah.
Right? And that's you targeting that employee. Right? Because you're like, I'm going to get this one, doing return to work meetings for this one. You should be doing it for everyone, right? Every employee, every manager should be doing it with every employee. Once they've been absent, they need a return to work meeting. It is a super quick meeting. I know it sounds like a complete pain in the ass that no one has time for, right? But it is a really quick meeting. This is a 5-minute meeting. All you have to do is meet with them and say, why were you off sick? How are you doing now? Do you have any underlying issues? Is it an ongoing issue? Do you have any further medical appointments, especially if there's sort of more than one and it's a bit of an underlying thing? You can ask if they're taking any medication, if there's any side effects. And if they're coming back from a longer term absence, you can ask if they need any adjustments or anything while they kind of settle back into work. But it really is a 5-minute chat in most situations. The only time it's a bit of a longer chat is, well, let me put it this way. The longer they're off, the longer the chat. Okay? Or if they are at the point where they have so many absences that the chat is a little bit like, it's the 6th time I'm speaking to you in the last 2 months. What's going on? Oh, no, I'm fine. Yeah, no. What is going on? Why are you suddenly absent so regularly? Is there an underlying issue? Are these things connected? Has something changed? What's going on? So those are the times that it's going to be a longer meeting. Otherwise, it really is just, what was wrong with you? Are you okay now? Do you need anything? Fine. Off you pop back to your shift. So that's really important as well. And then the other thing that we see people do a lot is they allow people to use holiday instead of sickness, which means that the employee gets paid for that day. So let's say someone's off for 2 weeks this 2 days this week. Oh my gosh, 2 days this week. Those are probably in most cases going to be unpaid because it might be SSP and they're in waiting days and they're not getting paid. So they say to you, oh, can I just take 2 days holiday instead? And you go, yeah, no problem. Because in your mind, they're burning through holiday and you're like, fine. What you're actually doing is you are changing the record on that absence from a sickness absence to an authorized holiday absence, which means when I ask you for a log for absences in 6 months' time, you can't put that down as a sickness because you approved a holiday for it. Problem number one. Problem number two, the employee gets paid for those days, which means that there is no impact on them for pulling a sickie. None at all. So now, don't get me wrong, most of the time employees are actually sick and it's a bit of a hit for them and they're like, oh, but if you're trying to manage short-term absence, allowing employees to use paid holiday instead of their normal sickness absence is a problem. And where we see it, we actually usually see that it's done quite a lot. You'll have the same employees coming back, doing it over and over and over again, and they're using 10, 12 days a year of holiday for sickness. And you have 4 or 5 employees in your business doing that. And actually what you've got is a short-term absence problem, but you're not managing it because you're letting them have holiday. So don't give them holiday. That doesn't mean on the odd occasion you can't agree a day's holiday. I'll give you a perfect example. One of our clients emailed in this week and they said, we have an employee who's had to have eye surgery and he was originally scheduled to be off for 2 weeks and he has 2 weeks club sick pay. So that was absolutely fine. However, he's picked up an infection and he's been told he needs to be off for another week. So he will now be on SSP. And he has asked if he could use 1 day's holiday this week instead of having the full week at SSP paid. And is it okay to approve that? On a case like that, absolutely. Maybe he's feeling that he can't take the hit for a whole week and he'd like to just see 1 day he can make that work. That is the sort of situation which is totally okay to approve this, right? But as a regular habit, just for someone for a day off here or there, it's not the right way to do it. And then the only other thing to say, only sickness is sickness, okay? This is really important. And this is the time of the year when you're going to struggle with this. Parental issues is not sickness. And I say that in that really funny way because I'm not a parent, I get it. But having parental problems is not sickness problems. If there is a childcare problem or if the child is ill, all of those things, or if the partner who was looking after the child is now ill and is now also a child and also needs taken care of, it's none of that is sickness. It is only sick when the employee themselves are too ill to come to work.
But also, Nadia, they need to, sorry, this sounds awful, but they just need to pretend effectively. I'm sure we've all done this. It's like, I need to have the time off for whatever reason. I'm ill. Sorry. Obviously, none of us would ever do that, ever. So it's just like, oh, I'm really ill. Oh, da, da. And it's like, then you're officially off sick. You can have your 7 calendar days. And then you come back and you're like, oh, I feel so much better. Thank you. And that's got you over the hump and you've been paid. Okay. If you come in, like Nadia says, and says, oh, yeah, my partner's ill and he can't look after children. It's like, well, one, give him some paracetamol and a kick up the backside because, you have to. And sorry, well, we're turning this into a different podcast afterwards, obviously.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. About equality and equity of opportunity.
And we're trying to talk about things.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure it will come around, but it's that we have more parental support and everything like that. But it's just, it's not sick pay and it shouldn't be paid under sick pay if it's not them being sick. Yeah.
Except they're clever enough to just say, I have a terrible cold and I might be off for a few days. Yeah. Yeah. So, but if they come to you with childcare or any of that, there are other there are other leaves where this fit in. You know, most commonly in time off for dependents.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Yes, there are other types of leave that this fits into. But it is not sick leave, and it definitely should not be paid at club sick pay. Hell no. Or as SSP.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I hope that helps you guys a little bit. Just a little refresher and reminder of what to do with short-term absences.
Lovely. Dawn, your question.
I had a question. I know that there's going to be a payment from day one for SSP soon. I can't remember when. Is it April, October? When are they talking about?
We're expecting it in April next year.
Okay. But
it's not definite. I would just tell you that be ready, because I think it could be sooner.
Okay, so bearing that in mind and just looking at the handbook, and I know obviously you're going to be updating the handbook when all these things come in. So I'm presuming it's going to be a lot tighter, a lot stricter about how we're managing this. Now, we've got a workforce management system that has the functionality to measure the Bradford factor scale. And I know you should never look at it in its entirety, and it should be balanced. But I'm just wondering, based on the fact that this is, coming in and we need to be very strict, if we could also look at that as a factor to manage absence.
You definitely can take it into account. So along the lines of, obviously, you've had 3 absences in the past 2 weeks, so we're going to sit down and have a chat about it. And then it's seeing on a case-by-case basis, why were they off? Okay. And if it's the problem with the Bradford factor is that it doesn't really make any allowances for disability related absences.
No. And that's why I know it needs to be sort of balanced. I know you can't look at it in its entirety.
But what I would also do is not put it in the handbook. Absolutely use it as a source of information and clarification for yourselves to go, right, they've been off and it's just, I wasn't feeling well. Okay, now we're going to have that meeting and say, well, and you don't even need to say the Bradford factor. That is for you. That's your logging system. And then you're sitting down and going through the disciplinary process, again, investigation, disciplinary, it may well be a first written. It may be a final written. And again, it's having those conversations that if they are just off and, I just didn't feel well. Okay, well, actually, that's not acceptable if you can't give us any more information. So therefore, it's a first written warning for too much absence.
Is it, without me sort of referring to it, is there anything in there that's sort of the repercussions of certain amount of absences, or is it pretty vague?
It's vague because it's based on case law and it's based on each situation, because you might have a disability. What we have more commonly actually is sickness absence related to bullying and sexual harassment allegations. And that is then a problem that there's a whole different thing. It's not the sickness that's a problem, it's everything that's a problem. So this is why we don't actually say how much is a problem, because it's like, okay, what is the situation? Why has Carolyne been off for 2 weeks with stress at work? What was happening, etc. And then we're needing to sort it out. So it's not an automatic trigger. Because while you, Dawn, absolutely know you've got to bear that in mind, if you were away on holiday, which you're occasionally allowed to go and do, not often, not enough, and somebody else was in charge and they went, oh, well, it says after 5 days that you have to do a disciplinary. They're not going to know the subtleties of it. That's why we don't put it in. It's what is their sickness absence? And also we're looking at what is it in the department. So sometimes we get, and again, this is golf clubs, but they'll say, oh, this greenkeeper's had too much sickness absence. It's like, well, how many days has he had? Well, 3 days since January. I'm like, how is that bad? And show me the department. And it turns out the department, actually, each of them have had 10 days since January, but they just don't like that one person. So it is a case by case basis. There isn't a one size fits all, which is why we try and keep it vague, because case law does change all the time. Now, it may well be that with the new rules, it is clearer defined, but sickness absence, unless you have to pay SSP, there isn't anything else in writing about it. It's just the case law decisions where people have lost or won, where you go, right, we can do this. Yeah.
I've got a couple that are long-term, well, not long, they keep on going off, that I'm going to have to manage.
Yeah, so we should be doing meetings with that and getting that into a process.
We do. One of them is constantly, for years, it's a historical sort of thing. It's got every ailment under the sun, to be honest. I don't know how he's still alive, to be honest. I really don't. But and I think probably he wasn't managed before. Now, because we're managing him, he doesn't like it. Why we're having these conversations, well, everyone has these conversations, but now apparently he's said that he's going off for a back operation now, not to his manager, but to another member of staff. So we're sort of jumping on that to find out what that's all about.
We're going to need a letter, maybe. Thank you very much. Yes.
Okay.
Jackie, you have a question?
This is really timely, because this is the reason that I'm definitely on this call for the short-term sick. So just to explain, we are a franchisor and we've got franchisees and pest control. Some of the franchisees, they've just got small teams, less than 5 people. One of the franchisees has got an employee who started May last year, and has sciatica. So it's a repeated sort of short term, and he's obviously just trying to run his business, and he's sort of relying on him being there. So it is just what our situation, what his situation is. At the moment, he has actually been paying him a full wage when he's sick. He's been providing private physiotherapy just to keep him on side. But I do know that this employee has actually worked for another franchisee many years ago, and it is a bit of a repeat. I'm hearing this a repeat of what's happened before. So it's sort of understanding what the position is for the franchisee. I'm sort of reading that perhaps we need to definitely be recording that sickness. But how does he make a decision of how much is too much sick that is going to be affecting his business?
Okay, so we can go into the details with you separately, but it's sort of the big picture is when they're off sick, like Nadia was saying, you're logging it as sick. You're not doing it at full pay unless that is your policy. Now, I don't know what his sickness policy is. I would think with a small team like you just pay SSP. So I'm going to say that's not going to be good. And I'm going to say that it's a little bit unfair when employers do that. Sorry, that sounds awful. Because they pay it full pay because they want to be generous. And then 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, they say, it's too expensive. Yeah, but you chose to pay them. You didn't have to pay them. So golf clubs are very good at doing that. And it's then having the return to work meetings. The other thing we can do is ask for a GP's report about the issue. They're not super quick. They usually take about 6 weeks to sort of make sure that he's spoken to the doctor about it, that it's not just him saying it, that there's something going on. And we can also get an occupational health assessment done as well, so that they would then have somebody who is used to dealing with sciatica talking to him. So even if he tries to make it up, they'll go, no, that's not sciatica. And so you can then maybe get a treatment plan in place. I'm going to say it would be worth us working out how much holiday, Freudian slip, how much sickness absence he's had, so that we can see. I'm going to say it sounds like the person is more expensive than he's delivering value at the moment. If he's got private physio and full pay, and he's just over a year's service, that seems tricky. So it'd be worth us having a chat with you, but also with the franchisee maybe to check what he wants to do, because the other thing is checking the absence reporting procedure. So the sickness absence, we don't usually dismiss for sickness absence, but if they fail to follow the reporting procedure, there isn't, that's usually a clean dismissal as well. So,
okay.
One of the other things you might find is that occupational health, and this is where they are really useful, they might actually also be able to give the business and the employees some suggestions on small adjustments that can be made to their role. That means that they can maybe work a little bit more with what they've got, rather than just, being off sick whenever it hurts. There might be adjustments that can be made to say, on days that you are a bit more sore, we can do X, Y, and Z differently instead, to make it a little easier for you. And occupational health, that really is what they will do. They will be able to give you those small adjustments that can make it possible for the employee to work with the condition that they have.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Michelle, have you got a question? It's lovely to see you. You haven't been on here for a while.
Every time I think about it and I have 5 minutes, I've missed it.
Oh, no.
I do try and join every week at the best intention. Do you know what, Caroline? I've got a million questions, but I'm slowly moving forward.
Yes. Yeah. By this time next year, you'll have it cracked. Definitely.
Maybe give me 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
The absence here now. Interestingly, I was told by a previous HR director.
Yep.
So I've always been a massive advocate of return to works for everybody.
Yeah.
And I don't care if you've had half a day off or half a year. Everyone gets a return to work. Obviously, trying to get the managers to keep up with it, it's quite difficult. But I'm on it. But someone once told me, because I did query the self-certs, and I was told that if you log your absence onto a system, that counts as your self-cert.
Well, yes. I mean, we usually say you have to fill out a self-certification form, an actual physical form, and put it in. You can't just log. I mean, none of the staff should be able to log their own sickness absence. That should only be done by the manager.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Because I'm talking about a previous company. They had the Atlas citation site.
Yeah.
So if an employee went sick, they would log their own sickness.
Yeah.
And then it would be approved by their manager.
Then it'd be approved by the manager.
Right.
And then they would take that as their self-set. But I've always used a form.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Michelle, actually, I'm just going to jump in there because I've worked for a previous business that did it like that as well. It was a big corporate business.
Yeah.
And generally how it worked is you still had to call in sick and everything in the same way. But then your manager would say, when you come back, go and put your sick on.
Yeah.
Right. And then your manager would approve it. But here is where it worked as a self-cert, because we used it as self-cert. It would only allow you to put sickness on for 7 days. So you couldn't put a longer sickness on yourself. And it had a little form to complete. So it wasn't just putting the sickness on and hitting submit. There were questions to complete.
Gotcha. And
you couldn't submit if you didn't complete the questions.
Interesting.
So basically the self-cert questions were just online.
Okay.
The form was online. That's basically how that worked.
I'm not sure they did that step because I kept arguing the point, but hey ho. Okay, do you have a self-cert form template that you could send over? And I'll start introducing them alongside the return to work.
Yes, fingers crossed. Good luck, Michelle, with that.
So who wants it? Michelle and Jackie and Dawn.
Okay, Tony's got it already. Have you got your self-cert form? Excellent. Good. Okay.
That's
good.
Okay.
Right. I'm going to say it's interesting with the colder weather. I mean, I know it's not cold, but the colder weather this week, all of the golf clubs have woken up and gone, oh, yeah, I do have staff issues, and gone. And it's just as opposed to last week where it was warmer and they're like, yeah, maybe
They had
next
no
week.
time to look at their staff issues last week.
It's just like, okay. So just to say, apologies if there is a slight delay if you do send an email over, because it is a little bit of a tsunami at the moment, but we're doing our best. And by the end of the year, we'll be up to date. So that's great. Okay. Everybody take care, and we'll see you here next week.
Thank you. Thanks, Nadia.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you want a free peace of mind call with us to discuss your policies, handbook, and any burning staff issues in your business, click the link in the description below.